The first thing I had intended to do was to put in the diagonal bracing that would go from the bottom of this post to near the tops of the outside two corners to prevent it from racking like this. Unfortunately, when I came through Fayetteville and bought the rest of my material the other day, I forgot to get those. So that's not the first thing that I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and start on the face of the solar panels of the framing for that. I've already put up the first piece. I kind of wish that my posts would have been a little bit longer, but down there it'll actually be a little bit better. The solar panels will actually, I have two solar panels, 7 feet each with a little space between them, so we'll have a little over 14 feet in overall height on the solar panels. These 2x6s are 12 feet long, so it'll overhang the bottom a little and it'll overhang the top a little. Probably what I'll do is kind of cheat everything uphill just as high as possible so that I take advantage of as much light as possible. And from what you can probably already see, I've got a little shading from this locust tree. I'm not in love with locust trees. I'm not in love with anything that has thorns on it. So that locust tree will go. That'll help me a little bit. But even after that, there's some cedar trees that are to the southwest. I don't really want to take those down. I have sort of strategically placed this to where it's not easily seen from the highway. I love the effect of solar, but I hate looking at it, so I've got it just out of sight of the barn where I'll be living. And if I'm not looking at it, I don't want my neighbor to have to look at it either. So I really don't want to take any more of the cedar trees down. There's going to come a point that there's going to be some shade late in the afternoon here. So what I'm going to do, like I say, I'll cheat everything uphill, but I'm going to go ahead and continue with that 42-degree 2x6. I'll put 2 here, 1 on each side of that post, 1 on the outside of that post, and then at the spacing that's required to attach the frames, I will put in sort of a T-shaped 2x4, so 1 vertical 2x4, 1 horizontal 2x4 that comes, the vertical 2x4 will butt into this, the horizontal 2x4 will lay over the top of that and actually overhang just a little bit. Right now I have about 20 feet from post to post, and my overall length on the solar panels is going to be about 21 feet. So this piece that lays flat across the top will actually overhang these, so there's something for the solar panel to attach to there. So I'll go ahead and continue with installing those 2x6s. To start with, I'm only putting in 2 stainless steel 3-inch deck screws at each connection. And then once I'm satisfied that everything is in the same plane, looking good and where I want it, I'll go ahead and add some, probably 4, I guess I'd even have room for a 6-inch timber lock on this center one. I believe that's all I'm going to put up today. I'll actually go in the morning to pick up those cross braces. I need to get propane too, so I'll get kind of a late start on things tomorrow, but that's okay. It's supposed to be a pretty pleasant day. I will yet today go through and do the layout of the placement of those T-shaped 2x4s that I was talking about. So that's all ready to go. I'm hoping that it's not nearly as windy on maybe tomorrow afternoon or Tuesday, so that I can set solar panels without having to fight the wind. Okay, the rest of the weed barrier fabric has been put in, road base spread over the top of that. I got probably 3 inches average. I may have some weed killing to do while it's in use, but we'll find out. I know I'm going to have a whole bunch of mowing to do out in front of it here, because this grass gets pretty doggone long. It'll easily get chest deep. I've got the cross bracing in, and the horizontal T-pieces are the next ones to put in, so I'll get those laid out, and then maybe we'll go into warp speed putting them in. Assuming that I cut everything to the right length, I am ready to start putting in the bottom of the T, 8 pieces. When I am in time lapse, unfortunately, you don't get to hear the sounds of spring that are going on around me. I love the songbirds here. It is just so doggone refreshing and relaxing just to be able to work and listen and enjoy. Well, that actually went quite a bit easier than I was anticipating. All the boards were cut just about perfectly to the length that I needed. And in putting in a few screws ahead of time to hold things in place, so I'm not holding with one hand and trying to drill and put in a screw with the other hand, it actually went quite well. One thing that I did notice as I'm putting them up is I've got 2 of those 2x4s that are extremely crooked. The bottom one on the left and the second from the top on the right. So when I put the flat piece across the top, I'm going to have to take some time to straighten at least those 2. I think the rest of them were probably pretty good. I'll go ahead, I'm going to get started with that, and what I'm going to do is I'll start out, I've got roughly 20 feet overall in length here, it's just a little over that, and I've got a 16-footer and an 8-footer that I'll put on the top of these, and I'll stagger those back and forth. But that gives me 24 feet, so I'll be hanging over roughly 2 feet on each side, maybe a little less. And then what I'll do is after I get all the solar panels set, I'll go ahead and cut those ends to about what they look best, and all pretty much in line with one another. So I think it'll look good when it's all said and done. That is it for the structure for everything to attach to, and the one exception to that is I still have to put 1 4-inch screw in all of those major connections just to beef it up a little more than what those 3-inch stainless steel screws might be holding. So far as the 2x4T that all of the solar panels will be resting on, they're fine. I've got a stainless steel screw, at least 1 stainless steel screw every 2 feet there. So if there's a weak point, it would probably be the post pulling out of the ground. Fortunately, the prevailing wind, and this is a prevailing wind that is almost always the case, is from the south. So the wind is going to be pushing directly at the panels and up over the top of them, and there shouldn't be a lot of uplift in it to start with. At least I hope not. Okay, I think that'll be it for tonight, except that I will go ahead, check the structure for square, and go ahead and lay out my first line. What I'll do is I'll start with the upper row of panels, and I'll work my way from the center out to the edges.